Good afternoon, all. This is the Townsend Finance Committee meeting for February 12th. I'd like to call the meeting to order at 4:09 p.m. And can I have a roll call from the Finance Committee members present?
Carolyn Besikis.
Mark Hussey.
Andrew Wood.
Don Hayes. With the four members, we have a quorum, so we can continue. This meeting is being recorded and also played live on the Channel 9. Okay, next item on the agenda, additions or deletions. I did have one addition. We had a request come in for a prior year bill to the retirement fund from the treasurer collector's office. So we will be adding, in addition to the IT transfer, we have a treasurer. Okay, any other additions or deletions from members that we did not get onto the agenda before meeting? Okay. All set on additions and deletions. The next item, review correspondence. Andrea, was there anything in the Finance Committee mailbox?
No, you got the two transfers that you have. The hard copies of
Yep.
them are in the mailbox.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. With that, then we move into meeting business and we discuss the IT transfer request from it's the amount being requested is $5,013. It's looking to transfer it to the MIS Professional Services. At this time, there is a $0 balance in that account. And this is to cover the invoice for an unexpected equipment failure and service call. And we'll look into to pay that bill.
You know,
Yep.
that was exactly the same reason why they got the last transfer.
It was that was a bill for November for the server that had to be rebuilt in order for us to continue to get the information and the data off and then move forward. I would.
There have been a lot of expenses to MIS this year. And this bill is now bounced out, and since the bill came in and the account has been exhausted.
And so because of the failures, and this is the quarterly payment for the Microsoft Office puzzle.
So this
bundle.
is just a quarterly bill.
This is a quarterly bill that there is no money in the account
to pay.
to pay at this point because of all of the other IT expenses in the year.
Yeah.
They are moving from this quarterly payment to an annual payment, and I believe that's the bigger bill that's hanging over our heads that we discussed moving and potentially doing the municipal transfer as we get closer into the end of the budget for this year. So it's the Microsoft has gone from this quarterly billing cycle and allowing it to annual, and it's an upfront payment, I guess. So it's kind of this. So this bill is for the
last quarter.
For the last quarter for FY21.
I hope.
22. I thought we were working on FY 22.
We're in
this-
FY. So it's not
Okay,
FY 23.
Yep, FY 23 is, sorry.
It's okay.
Losing track of my years. Kind of like constantly juggling that one. So yes, this is FY 22. So this is a bill for this year. And next year they've gone to the annual payments. So,
Do we need a motion?
well, I just want to make sure we're having a little discussion at this point because there was a question about what the service was. Did it make any sense or did I confuse it more, Andrea?
No, you're fine. Thank you.
Okay. Then at this point, if there's no more discussion, I'd entertain the motion to approve the transfer from the Finance Reserve Fund to the MIS Professional Services.
I'll make the motion that we transfer the requested $5,013.
I'll second it.
Okay, so the motion's made by Mark Hussey, seconded by Jerry Bezikas. One more time, any further discussion? Okay, none being heard. Roll call vote, please.
Gerald Bezikas, yes?
Mark Hussey, yes.
Andrea Wood, yes.
Don Hayes, yes. It passes unanimous. Well,
You mind signing that?
I will.
I'll get a copy of it.
Yeah. Okay, that one's passed. Okay. Next item on the agenda is the next request for a transfer from the reserve fund coming from the treasurer collector's office. The amount being requested, unfortunately, it came in very last minute, so you don't have a copy of this to read. We're looking to transfer $3,868.22 to the county retirement account line. The present balance in that account is $60. The request is made because deductions from military leave of absence were not done at the time. This was not this is an extraordinary or unforeseen reason. They had done an audit at the county retirement board. When I look at the details for this, the employment dates of the person where the funds are being requested for, the dates of service and deployment were June 5th of 2014 to April 3rd of 2015. So we are 7 years out of 7. So this is an audit. He's probably retired in that time frame. It is now when they're looking at their accounts and balances for that employee that we're doing it. So it is something that looks like it was overlooked back 7 or 8 years ago.
So
Okay.
can we make a transfer from this year's funds for something that's 8 years old?
What is that?
It,
I believe you can.
it's just it's not the prior year, but it's a prior bill that should have been paid that is just coming to light the 8 years later.
If your question, Andrew, is a reserve fund transfer appropriate versus a special town meeting vote? Is
Yeah,
that,
yes.
I believe you can handle these things like reserve fund transfer, I mean, assuming there's money, which there is in this case, or unless you wanted to reserve your reserve fund for something else.
No, I just always thought that this year's funds had to be used for this year's bills. I didn't realize it was an old bill like that. And I just want to be on the safe side. That's all. If you think it's a legitimate, that it can be done this way, it's fine with me.
I believe it can.
Okay.
And
How much is it?
Mhm.
How much is it?
It's
$1,000.
$3,868.22.
And this is the first bill we've had from them, or, I mean, this,
Well, my guess is that he has just applied for retirement benefits,
oh,
and they went back through the records
oh, I see.
to double check. And because he was deployed, we at the time, so these are wages for his deployment, retirement funds for his deployment period. And so he may not have been collecting a salary, and maybe there wasn't,
And that got overlooked. Yeah,
and that got overlooked in the.
I think that's fair.
It's a new invoice that makes you feel any better.
Yeah.
It's not,
Yeah.
it's not a
Yeah, that's what I was
Yeah.
just thinking then too.
Yep. Yeah, the date of the invoice is March 29th of this year. But the dates that they're validating were that long ago. So it is a new invoice from March of this year, and there was no other money no additional money left in that account.
Yep.
Or just the $60. Okay. So any further discussion?
I'm good.
Okay. With that, I'd entertain a motion.
I'll make the motion. Yeah. Sure, thank you. Okay. I make a motion that we transfer $3,868.22. The county retirement fund.
Second.
Okay. And motion made by Mark, seconded by Geraldine. Any more discussion? Any additional discussion? With that, I'd like to take a vote on the motion before us.
Carolyn Bezikas, yes.
Mark Hussey, yes.
Andrea Wood, yes.
John Hayes, yes. With that, unanimous passing of the motion. Thank you. We'll just get the document signed and
What do you do with the reserve fund transfers now, Don?
I have been giving them to Ross, and Ross has been giving them to the accountant.
Well, what we usually did before was just take them and put them in the accountant's mailbox, and I'll drop her a note telling her that they're there, and she'll take care of them tomorrow morning.
I'll see Terry as part of my morning rounds tomorrow morning, and I'll drop them off then.
Oh, all right.
Okay, but if you want that, just as a reminder, you can send that email to Terry, and then she'll be asking Ross if he doesn't.
He doesn't show up.
Yeah, okay, so.
It's always good to have a backup plan.
Exactly. Yeah.
I assume you only need the top sheet. Okay, so now I'll have to do the math, and first one was about 13,000. This is 4, and the other was 5, so 11, 20, about 24, and we had 40, so we're about 15,000 and change in our reserve fund for the remainder of the year, just as a ballpark for us. I'll get the exact numbers. But. Okay. And I do want to apologize. I have the next item on the review for reviewing, so I will get back on that and get them out for the next meeting. Okay, next, moving on to the working session. Ross, you had handed out some updates for the second.
Yes, and I mailed these home this afternoon.
Yeah.
The first is the sheet that's the expense ledger. For those here, it looks like this. And there is the expense ledger covering snow and ice that shows the current deficit is $192,927 plus a $6,000 stipend. So we're looking at $198,927 is the current snow and ice deficit. I believe that is it for the year, if not really close.
How much did you say the stipend
And this
was?
is coming out of, I'm proposing to fund this total of $6,000.
I thought she had
What
said
is the stipend?
7,000.
That is paid to the contractors.
Okay.
It's sort of a incentive for them to show up and plow versus calling in sick or whatever. And I guess this has been something that the town has been doing
Probably worth it, too.
forever,
Mm,
or a long time.
I believe it's in their contract.
Yes, and I'm proposing to fund this from free cash when we get to the town meeting. But I mentioned it today just because this is taking a big chunk of free cash.
mhm.
And that will come out later when we start talking about the recap. I also sent out today a staffing report that the fire department gave me this afternoon. I don't know if I printed copies of that, but I did
I
mail
didn't
them.
see it.
I don't know whether people have questions on that, but he explains where he's got all of his people. So,
I think one of our questions were some of the officers are, lieutenants and captains, how many were there? Were there more than one? So we could figure out.
yeah, there's 3 captains, and that should be,
The literature we had didn't lay that out, though. I guess that was.
Right. And then the FY 2021 versus FY 22 compared to FY 23.
I don't think I asked them for last year's comparison, but I did get them this year's for you. One chief who's working part-time. Expect that the select board will appoint him to be ongoing chief probably for 12 to 24 months at working part-time. We've got a captain, 2 captains, lieutenant that he hopes to hire, and then 4 medics and firefighters.
It's 7.
And then there's per diems and call members after that. I have heard that the morale in the department is improving dramatically, that the response when there was an incident on a serious motor vehicle. They had like 19 people that responded to the call. They had a fisherman and maybe a water or a drowning incident that had to be evacuated. They had like 11 people show up. So this is something that was not happening a few months ago. They couldn't get enough people to respond.
Right.
So I think there's good things going on down. The next sheet is the FY23 budget recap sheet. That list starts with listing the amount that we expect to raise and appropriate from the general budget.
I think that's Sam.
It must.
Um, I think this has been pretty static. I think I mentioned last week that I had to lower the ambulance receipts. I was counting on $600,000 of ambulance receipts.
Mhm.
Based on where the chief and I thought they would end up at the end of the year. Terry talked to DOR, and DOR basically said you only can appropriate what's in your hand at the moment. So we're figuring that'll be about,
383.
well, 383 is the amount that'll go to the general fund,
Yeah,
and the 101,000 will pay the ambulance. So there's roughly
okay.
490 something that we're comfortable with. That might tick up a little bit, but it was a big sort of hit to our budget calculation when we couldn't use what we expect to be there June 30th versus what will be there April 30th. I've also lowered the direct charges from the water department. I had 343 for a while. I'm now carrying 300. Terry's done a detailed spreadsheet that allocates a certain percentage of town hall time based upon the size of their payroll or based upon their actual insurance payments. And we're at about that number.
Yeah.
I'm hoping to negotiate maybe a little bit more with the water department.
I think the other thing that comes in for next year is the going for the bond and managing the time associated with the bond for the
That's right, you brought that up
Treatment center.
before, yeah.
so next year that there may be additional work that's required in FY23.
I'm showing several warrant articles, capital items that are mostly coming out of free cash. I think free cash is getting low at the moment with the items that we have listed. We would end up with an ending balance of free cash of about $65,428. That's my goal was to keep 200,000 there just for unknowns. I think we sort of beat up the topic about whether to spend it or not spend it. I think we should keep some for emergencies. On the other hand, you as residents have paid into this fund. We ought to put it to work. But to get that balance back up, I've indicated a few items that maybe get skipped this year. And those are sort of on the right side of your sheet with asterisks. Potentially not replacing car 2 for the fire department. Potentially not buying the half-ton pickup for facilities. Potentially skipping the exterior repair on the Harbor Fire Station. Skipping completely. I've been cutting back the projects to go through the documents in the old library, but I think that, if anything, that's an easy one to postpone since it's been there so long.
Right.
And then repair of the old Harbor Fire Station, 20,000, and the records management police department, 35. If we take out those items that are highlighted, it would leave a balance of about $258,000
In free cash,
free
if we eliminate those.
I think the selectmen will vote tomorrow night on which of those items are in or out. I've suggested that we continue with them, since I want to give them a finished document sort of before they vote, that if they vote not to move some of these, we'll just move no action town meeting. So they'll be in the warrant. And if by chance we find some money that shows up,
Yeah.
they'll still be available to be voted on, but presumably the board will vote to move no action on those items.
It's unfortunate about the pickup truck.
Yeah,
The
I'm
guy,
sorry.
I can really feel for him. But.
Well, and I was trying to preserve, to keep the funding for the rolling stock, car 2 for the fire department and the pickup truck for facilities, and just not painting old buildings.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's important to towns in long term, but you've got to make some cuts, and those are my recommendations. The net of all this is we're still facing a $472,000 deficit That's, our expenses are higher than our revenue or the amount that we're allowed to raise taxes. And we're facing that kind of deficit. And that may shift a few dollars, but I think with the big shifts that I was expecting, that we've already used up, such as the $47,000 reduction in health insurance, that's already incorporated. The $140,000 last reduction we got from North Middlesex School is already in. Don't see any more big numbers that are going to help that. So I believe that leaves the town with essentially two options. One is to vote the Proposition 2.5. It's on the election warrant for $350,000. To vote the balance from stabilization.
But that wouldn't be on the ballot because it's already been printed, am I right? To add, to take the rest out of stabilization?
That
Would happen at town meeting?
town meeting.
Okay.
That
does
has
not
to be in the motion.
Yes, that would not require an election vote. Proposition 2.5 that actually requires a vote.
Right,
So
which
that's-
will take place before the town meeting.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we'll know whether it passes or not
Okay, I see.
by
Yeah, yeah.
town meeting.
Yeah.
If it doesn't pass, I think because we feel that everything that's still in that budget is needed, we asked to take $477,000 out of stabilization. There's $1.2 million in there now, so it doesn't deplete it. We've checked with bond counsel, and they don't believe that taking that out will impact the borrowing rate or our Moody's approval. What they've said is, they'd like to know that there's a plan to replenish it. It's easy to say now.
Easy to say, yeah.
Well, and my initial budget, I had a line item to put money back in stabilization
Yeah.
just for that reason.
Yeah.
Well, and we had money from the last annual that we were going to put back into stabilization as well, which we didn't.
Yes. I fully understand the political impacts and people's attitudes towards Prop 2.5 override, but the town's going to need this type of levy ceiling relief next year, and you'll be further in the hole if it doesn't get passed. I don't know how I can say that, more forcefully, but as unpleasant as it is, I think it's necessary.
But at the
So-
same time, you can't get water from a well that's dry. A lot of people, it's, and I'm not bad mouthing anything other than people simply can't afford it. So then what do you do?
Well, that is the $472,000
Dollar
question.
question, exactly.
So the next document I prepared for you is, and this is part of the requests I heard from the committee last week, was what's this going to cost us?
Right.
So there's a sheet, estimated effects of overrides and exclusions for FY23. The first sheet, I think, should say that if to raise and appropriate $18,965,000, that's the amount that raises up to the levy limit. So that's the most we can raise and appropriate. We'll have a tax rate of $16.73, and it will cost the average household $77.35 a year to bring it up to the levy limit. If you add to that, the second page should show $350,000 in the middle. That's the impact on your tax rate of 31 cents per thousand. And that would add $113,015.
Just 113.
113,000 plus the 77. So a total increase on the average tax bill of $190.50
A year.
a year. Quarterly, that's $48 a quarter. Mark, and I think to the rest of you, you bring up good points. Everybody's just saying, I can't afford an increase. And I fully understand, you know, gasoline is twice what it was a year ago, and it goes on and on and on. I submit that $190 a year in the average tax bill is not extraordinary. I mean, it's, you know, we're not talking thousands of dollars. I think that if we don't get the Prop 2.5 override, and you don't agree to make up the balance from stabilization, we're looking at drastic cuts.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, you could take an expense budget and cut them out $100 and heat up the flag committee, take out
You're not gonna get
$500
that much
and
out.
25%, but that's not gonna
No,
do it.
we kind of did that already.
I think we have. I mean, I've gone through now that we've got the town hall car that we got from the water department. I've taken money out of people's travel expenses because they should be using the town hall car,
Mhm.
not using.
But that's peanuts, really.
Sure it is. I took
Mhm.
money out of the automobile allowance for the facilities manager because the idea was he would have a pickup truck, which is sort of free cash versus operating funds. So losing the pickup truck makes this $4,000 harder. We're cutting back capital purchases to preserve some free cash, you know, going on. So I think we've made the painful cuts. I believe the school has made their cuts. I mean, their overall budget is close to 3% budget increase. I would love for them to cut more. I don't see that they could cut $477,000 out of Townsend's assessment,
Mhm.
even in a good day. And, you know, so I don't feel that we can pin this whole budget issue on the school. We're in this together, but we've looked under everything we can. I know we've gone through multiple times to look at what funds can be pulled out, used and funded with ARPA. So the election will be on the 25th.
On these opera positions, if they take the position and are they offered town insurance?
Yes.
There's enough hours,
If
right?
it- yeah.
If it's over 20 hours, they're offered it. And I think we had this question last week, and yes, ARPA is paying for the medical insurance.
Opera is
For
paying.
the 3 years or 2 years, whatever it is.
So we're not paying
Right.
Until,
until the second year or third year,
Third
whatever it is. And then if that job we don't have the money, then that job
Well,
goes
In
away.
that 5-year
and,
projection, don't you have that in there, Sean?
I do have it in
With some
there.
variable.
I got to get back to it because
Yeah,
this
yeah.
has changed so much, so now I
Sure.
got to bring
Yeah.
it forward. But yes, I will have that.
That's what I thought. I saw
Yeah.
that, yeah.
if the ARPA funds, when the ARPA funds go away,
Mhm.
I don't think those specific jobs go away. It'll be up for the town to
The
decide.
town
to
to then
figure out how to
take
pay
over.
for it.
Where do we cut that?
Where do
And-
you get that money?
And I'm hoping that, one, that the people that are in those jobs will have done enough to justify that everybody will say, yes, we have to keep those jobs. Okay,
Yeah.
now where you get the money from? Now your revenues,
Just like we're doing now. Everything's justified, but where do you get the money?
your revenues will go up some between now and then.
Right, yeah, yeah.
But but salaries and expenses. and
Right. I mean,
all
we're
that.
always in the same rut.
We-
The school
we need to-
always goes up, and I'm not bad mouthing them. They always go up 3%, 2.5%. We can charge an extra 2.5%, and with raises and everything else, it doesn't leave us any money.
A lot of those.
There's no new businesses coming to town. I mean, not that we even charge them any different tax rate, but I mean, as far as other income coming in, I don't know where that's gonna be.
It's, town needs to grow. How does it grow from a
Yeah.
business, from a new development issue is to be determined. But, I mean, your personal budgets are going up. It's, I think, somewhat
Some of these, but
somewhat blindside. I don't want to use anything derogatory, but it's somewhat wrong to think that municipal budgets are under the same pressures to go up.
Oh, no, I agree, and I think a lot of people probably agree, but a lot of people also agree that they have to watch their pennies, and they feel the town has to too. And it's not like we're not doing that, you know? It's just harder to swallow. And that's all I'm saying. We're doing all we can. I know,
Yep.
you know?
And the town has the ultimate voting power at town meeting.
Correct.
Whether they,
Absolutely,
whether they
yes.
agree with the work that's been done.
I mean, I would hope that finance committee and select boards will be able to support this budget and try to convince people that they should agree to vote for Prop 2.5 override. They should agree to vote for transfer from stabilization as a way to do this. But
With the transfers and the use of all the free cash that we've done, getting to the stabilization and using stabilization money is hard.
it is,
It's kind of,
it's there for
And we don't-
reasons like this.
Yeah, well, it solves the problem immediately, but it makes it worse for next year because we balance the budget with one-time funds.
Yes, you're right.
Yep.
Which is why I'm suggesting the Prop 2.5 override, but yes,
Yep.
one-time funds makes it more challenging for next year.
I have a question. I'd like to go back a bit. The ambulance receipts, what are they going to be used to reduce? Is it the fire department general budget, or they're borrowing, or whatever? What is it? What are their receipts going to be used for?
It will offset the expenses that include the fire department and the ambulance.
Their expenses. Okay.
It's not worded specifically to say quid pro quo. You take it out of the ambulance receipts and put it back into the fire department. So I think probably it's a matter of semantics. So it goes into the general fund, and then out of the general fund comes money to pay for the ambulance and the fire department.
In previous years, the fire chief set an amount, and it was voted out of free cash, but it was applied to a specific thing in the fire EMS budget or in the capital plan if it was a fire EMS necessity.
Yes, well, we are earmarking exactly $101,588 from ambulance receipts to pay for the ambulance lease. That's specific. But I don't know that there's really any difference between taking money out of the ambulance receipts and putting it directly into the fire department, or taking it out and putting it into the general fund and then paying from the general fund ambulance and fire expenses. It's a net wash as far as where the money goes. I mean, their budget is what, $1.2 million or something?
Huge.
Yeah, so we're taking out what we can to help fund that whole
Is
budget.
that a line item in the budget there? What we were talking about with the,
So their budget is $1.4 million.
okay.
It doesn't show a influx of money from the ambulance reserve to reduce
Right.
because that's
But is it going to
This
pay
is-
that's a line item
So-
that's in there now?
it's
I guess is my question.
we will make a transfer that says we're going to transfer from ambulance reserves. In this case, it's $383, 400. Yeah.
thought you were, yeah, okay. Hey, I was going to say, I thought you were talking 450 earlier. So
Oh, and then it'll just lower there. I see what's
So-
happening.
if just ease of numbers, if it was 500,000 that was transferred,
Mhm.
101 is going to be to pay the ambulance lease,
Yeah,
which leaves the 399 to use to fund other things as part of this,
Yeah.
other than the fire budget, but it doesn't fund the whole thing. So what Ross is saying, that money goes into the general fund, and then the
Of the
general
fire
fund,
department,
just,
or of their budget.
not necessarily the budget, it goes into the towns. So the town has to pay the total to the fire department anyway.
Right,
And so if they didn't transfer anything in, it would come out of operating budget,
okay.
and the general fund. What we're saying is.
I don't understand.
Yep.
I thought you had to vote a specific sum and
Mhm.
vote it to a specific place.
So the
Okay.
beginning of Article 5, which is the big money article, shows transferring several funds to certain locations. And actually, in the case of the fire department, it shows transferring $383,000 to operate the EMS. So it's doing exactly what I think you're asking for.
I see, okay.
Okay, yeah, well, that's what I wanted to know. But I don't, that's fine. I'm just used to more specific things than that, I guess.
So it is going from the ambulance reserve account to a line item that says to operate the
EMS.
EMS.
Yeah.
Which just means we're taking that much less out of
Existing,
general
yeah,
fund.
yeah, I understand now.
So we're the warrant actually reads the way I think you said it's been done, Andrew.
Yeah.
So I've shown the cost impact of a $350,000 override, and then the third sheet just shows you the cost of $100,000 of something that's raised. It's 9 cents per thousand. Right, 100,000.
Yeah.
So it's $32 on the average household, up to $36 for somebody's house that's assessed at $400,000, and $45 for someone's house is assessed at $500,000. And presumably, people can extrapolate what it means to them based upon where their houses fall above and below those numbers.
Don?
Yes, Sam?
Oh, I'm glad I finally got through. Just a second. Does that fix it?
Yep.
Yeah.
That fixed.
Good. It's been a technical nightmare here trying to get in. In any case, I
Okay.
got stuff on one computer and your voice and visual on another.
Oh.
Anyway, what you're saying there is for 100,000, you multiply that times the 09, then divide by 1,000, and you get the annual increase for that house,
Yes, on that last sheet. Yep.
right?
Yep.
So regardless of what the 100, what the 1,000, what your property valuation is, whatever it is, each 1,000 of that or portion of 1,000 is multiplied by 0.09 and then divided by 1,000, and that's your annual increase for this override
For 100,000, right?
That's per 100,000. So
of override.
350
Yeah.
is 0.31.
Yeah, the
So if you
overall,
ask for 200,000, it's 0.18.
350 is 0.31, right?
yes,
No, that's okay.
3 times that number. It's 31 cents on the tax rate to fund the
350.
$350,000 override.
okay.
Or it would cost $113 on the house that's valued at $365,000.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Whatever your house is, like 100,000, then that would be 4 times, or 400,000 times the 0.09, correct? divided by,
That's the override.
That's-
gives you the annual increase. 300,000 times 0.09 would give you an annual increase, I think it was $27. For the whole annual, not quarterly.
Yeah, that sounds about right, because I
Okay, well,
Okay.
sounds about right to me. I don't have, I've lost the calculator.
Hang on, let me,
The override.
Okay.
let me, okay.
How much are we asking for the override?
That was the sheet before the 350.
Well, that's all I got. It's a
It's a 0.09. You can't get the other.
If we do 350,000 for an override, it's 0.31 as the multiplier for what your house is worth.
or 113,000 if your house is worth 365,000.
Yeah.
Or $124 if your house is worth 400,000, or $155 if your house is worth 500,000.
Yeah, that's what okay. Yeah, those numbers aren't in front of me. I just have
Okay. Yeah.
override.
There are 3 tabs on the bottom of that spreadsheet. One of them says override.
Right. Okay, got you. No, I didn't see the tabs.
Okay.
Override is 350. So that's 31.
It's 31 in, it's, and I did the wrong number. So if we used the average,
Okay.
For 1,000 of your home, right?
yeah, yeah,
The 300,000
so,
at the
Yeah.
at the 35,000, 350,000. If the house is worth 30,000,
okay, so,
boy, I got too many commas in my place. And we raised the override to 350,000. That gives you a multiplier of 31 and an annual fee of 93 divided by 4 for each quarter.
That makes sense. You
Okay.
said the average home figured to be one.
The average home was 365.
Right,
Okay.
and it came out to 190.
Well, that's 190 with the raising appropriate to the ceiling plus the,
Plus, yeah, that was everything. I'm sorry.
Plus
You're
the
right.
override.
Yeah.
so.
Okay. $353.
yeah, so I did if the average home is the 365, that's where your 113.15 comes in for the annual. And if you're just looking for quarterly,
Yes, $47.62.
Yeah.
Quarterly.
because we have to add in the levy.
Yeah. So that's about
$28 a month for the 350. I never put the change in there.
Yep.
Numbers. Yeah, okay, now I got your change.
Okay.
29. 23.35 for us. Okay. I feel better.
Well, I
Yeah.
hope that when you actually see the real numbers and realize average household impact is $190 a year or $47 a quarter.
Yeah.
It's not good, but I hope it's not the end of the world. And people will realize it's needed to keep the town going.
Okay.
That looks good either there. Okay.
Okay. Okay, any other questions for Ross at this point? The last budget file I had from you was dated March 29th. We updated it a little bit since then, or
The
the omnibus, yeah.
Yeah, there's a 4.7 version.
Okay.
Which is the same version that's printed it or pasted into the draft warrant.
Okay.
Actually, what did we start off with that first meeting just a few weeks ago? 800 something thousand?
Nine.
Was it 9? It was close to 9.
Yeah, 8. Yeah, definitely 890.
Good job, really. Knock it down that much.
Okay. Okay. If there's no more questions for Ross, I think what we need to do on the finance committee is go through and make our recommendations, or whether things are recommended or not recommended, or we have additional
On the
pieces.
warrant.
It's on the warrant and on the omnibus,
budget itself,
on both.
Yeah.
So it's kind of,
Yeah.
so it doesn't matter which one we start with. We need to do both.
Are we doing that tonight?
We can get started tonight,
Okay.
or, we are at 5:00. Maybe it's get started, see how it's.
Sure. Are we
Works.
meeting Thursday again?
We are meeting
Okay, that
Thursday
was
at
at
6:00.
6?
Yep,
Okay.
Thursday at 6, and that will probably be
Thank you.
the pieces.
Calendar for the town.
Okay, if I
Okay.
can take just a quick break.
Yep.
I'm going to jump back in on that.
Okay. Well, okay. Going through and getting my. That you?
Um,
I was going to say, I thought I was do not disturb here.
that is much faster.
Oh,
I can add to the warrant here if you want,
mhm.
as you go through them,
Okay.
either a statement from the finance committee that says as simple as finance committee recommends this article, or
Mhm.
finance committee does not recommend this article,
Okay.
or you
Yep.
could say why you recommend it, or you
Mhm.
don't,
Okay.
or
Yep.
you could say finance committee will report at town meeting.
Mm-hmm.
If I know those tonight, I can add those in, or
Okay.
I can leave that blank and you can, silence and you can talk about it or not at town meeting. It's up to you.
We can. I was going to say, I started working on a sort of a file today, and what I was looking at is each section in the omnibus budget that was broken down. I threw in the grouping for general government and public safety, and then each one, and on our FinCom, then I figured we can go through and recommended, not recommended, and put notes beside it. And so it trying to get a little bit more just structure to it, so that it's everybody is aware of what we're looking at, what we're doing, and how we're putting it together. The other then longer was these longer notes about, different notes about the whole budget. So to your point, what's the finance committee think? So I just threw a couple of words in here to see if that's what we want to do. But this may be the document that we distribute at town meeting. So there's and for next week.
this information is great, but it'd be hard to put that in the warrant.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. So this is the backup to what's in the warrant. The warrant will be simply on the recommendation, it's kind of like recommended, not recommended. And keep this notes to say 35 characters if we can, if we can, something that would be short and could be.
So I won't put in the published warrant,
Mhm.
finance committee recommendation.
We can, when the article comes up or when it comes up, we
Right.
can give it then.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
fine. Just-
Okay, that's fine. It's kind of like, and I was thinking the same thing for the rest of the warrants, is go through and have another sheet that pretty much did the same thing for the warrant articles.
So does the moderator normally turn, he calls for a motion for certain article, or does he turn to the finance committee for a recommendation?
Um,
I don't know if I've seen it before, but
I
I
have
don't know if
seen
every
it
time.
before, but I've also
I
seen it.
don't, yeah, generally I think it's, we have had it in advance, and it was part of the warrant this year with the budget having been delayed. We haven't gotten to this point yet, so we may not. It may be a sheet that gets passed out with the warrant so that they can see the finance committee recommendations side by side with it and flip the changes if we don't have it in time.
Well, I'm hoping to finish editing the final warrant tomorrow afternoon.
Right, so I'd say, yeah, and then Thursday night, I would hope that Thursday night, get the bulk of this done, and then Tuesday, touch it up, so we would have a separate document then, that would have to,
Separate document.
at town meeting, that goes alongside the articles.
In the past, we've always had it as a separate thing
Right.
that was passed out at town meeting with the packet that's passed out at town meeting.
Right.
Okay, good. And that's,
It breaks it down a little bit.
Yep. right.
It gives us a little time to.
Gives us a little time. If we do a lot of work between now and say the Wednesday meeting on the 20th, we could pass it out as a preliminary document, mark it as a draft,
Mhm.
hand it out there. If people have questions about it, we could clarify before town meeting. Might be a way to go.
Mhm.
Sorry. Keep on sitting back and going out of camera view, I think. Okay. Now, like you were out of the room, Mark.
Yeah.
What I had done with when we talk about the omnibus budget,
Mhm.
so I just brought in the lines. There was a request, we were doing some roundup numbers, so this was a working copy. So when there was something that had 89 cents, we wanted to round it up to whole dollars. So
Sure.
it just got rounded up. So
Yeah.
in essence,
Even if it's less than 50 cents, you want to round up.
Right. exactly. So
No, you
what
never
what
round
we
down
did-
because if
No,
if
no,
it's
no.
a salary, the person is going to end
Yep.
up short. You always round up.
We always round up, and so that's the difference. There's a formula that's called round, and if it's less than 50 cents, it will round down. If it's more than 50, it will round up. There is a specific round up formula, so all of these are rounded up. And if I look at the omnibus budget, it's kind of like, where's that? Where's one of my roundups? Kind of. So you have to bear with me. I was experimenting. So the formula to get to this to get to these points is this round up. So using this, it will always round up no matter what it is. So if it's a penny, it'll still round it up to the whole dollar. It's kind of like, and that was what we did. It's kind of like, so that was where we, and this 145 was me just messing with some things to see if I changed it, what would happen. So it's not a, yeah, we would never cut anything I'm playing with is not official. So working with the official, we'll get back to. But like I say, those were the formulas. If we go down, you can see everything is round up, except when we get to the subtotal ones, we don't want to round up because the numbers may not round up if there's two lines that rounded up, and they were different in amounts, depending on where they were, a round up total on this number would not necessarily work properly for here. And this is where you can see the difference. If I did the 135 here, is the number we put in. Okay. It's these numbers that I added. That's what it was. This is where the difference is. These are the two jobs
The
that
opera fund jobs.
the ARPA funded jobs. So I had put them in there, marked them, highlighted with yellow. So that's where we can see the difference. It kind of, so this was my working to say, okay, we actually do have a salary associated with these, but they're being paid for by ARPA. And then as we get out into that other worksheet, we can see what the impact is in future years. And when the ARPA money goes away, what the amount would be that we have to come up with to pay for it with that loss of.
Would that be something we present? The slides that would be prepared? Or do we not get into that?
I don't know. We could be early on it. We could talk in terms of this year. We're fighting to balance the budget and come in with a budget that
And just point out that this
future. Yeah, this
Exactly.
this is what the finance committee sees as the future that we try to plan. We look at what activity and what action we take today. What's the impact going
in a
forward
few years.
in a few years, and try to see it so that we can look at what's the impact of what we're doing in the current year versus what's it going to look like 2, 3, 4, 5 years down the road. And again, with the, we'll do that with other positions and the other
Yeah.
pieces that are going on. And earlier it was the conversation with about positions that may be ARPA funded. I believe there's only one position that's totally ARPA funded and not planned to go past the ARPA.
Which one was that? I think I remember
The
that.
meals assistant.
Yeah. Right,
Um,
right. For the kitchen.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
And again, if we find that more people are using it, then that may be a position that we want to continue with too. But right now, it's not planned to be.
Right.
It's not planned to go past the ARPA fund. So that again, we can see that. We should be able to see that in a budget that would drop out of later on. But back to where we were on the FinCom recommendations, what I was doing with each of these lines is to do exactly with that and just have a drop down of recommended or not recommended so that we can come through here. If we have any short notes, we put them in, and then I suppose I could do I started to do stories here about, it's kind of like give a summary of the overall budget.
Sure.
And this is where I messed up because it's 23.
Yeah.
So that's where my mind was going to fiscal year 22. But again, when we talk about the Board of Selectmen total line, what's the details that are going in here? And where are we? So this is just more of that description about our understanding of the budget, what it is, the two, in this case, there's two positions that we consider new. They were new, added during FY22, but budget-wise, they're looking new to the townspeople because they hadn't seen it in a budget since that time.
Yeah.
And
I thought those were actually in the FY22 budget. And they were approved positions. Okay?
I don't believe so. I believe they were added during the year.
Nothing in the FY22.
Yep. The webmaster was there last year. I think the grant administrator was down under land use and was moved up. So, you know, that's a piece that would.
No, that's bad. It's happened in this budget.
Yep. Again, you know, it's kind of like if anybody's looking in going, taking a look at what was FY22 versus FY23, this gives that little bit of background to where it is. I was just getting into, you know, I talked about the finance committee lines, what we use the reserve fund for, and haven't done spell check yet. And that, you know, that sort of thing, why this line is important to have, and just if there's any questions about where we are in the budget, give people that little bit. And I was just getting to the accounting where the budget increase was an increase by 6 hours a week, I believe, for the administrator. So, and then once we total that up, you know, sort of give that summary of new positions, how many new hours, that sort of thing. So,
Yep.
so that we understand, you know, it does talk about the positions and
Years moving forward.
in the years, yeah. So it's kind of, so
That's great. That's great information.
it's kind of trying to, it's kind of like give the information out so that try to arm them with the information about
So
how
they
we,
make intelligent votes.
right.
Yeah.
Yep. So again, this was just a start, but
I think that's great.
felt we would do the same for the warrant articles. Everybody on the phone, Sam,
Yes.
and did you see that? Um,
Words and all, yes, thank you.
yeah,
Like it.
okay. Okay. I will get this file out in the,
It's, you want to swap a T for Y on one article.
you know how many times I've done warranty contracts?
Well, it reminded me I need to run spell check on the whole warrant before I send it
There you
out,
go.
because
That's the first thing.
I hate those words that you you proofread it a dozen times and you still miss the spelling errors.
Yeah.
It's kind of, that's where spell check is great. It's kind of like even in spreadsheets, it will work it. So, yeah. And we'll just take it and run it through. It's kind of like,
Well, there's technically there's 3 articles in the special town meeting.
yep.
Cover those too.
Yeah, may as well. We planning to start the town meeting and go right to special and back? It's
Start
usually,
with special and then
Go to
close the
the-
special and go to annual.
I thought we started the annual, went to the closed that, went to the special, and then came back to the annual.
Not that I remember.
Didn't look like that in the previous ones.
Okay. Okay, that's,
I mean, I've had some discussions about why we even need to have a special.
mhm,
Legally, we could do all the articles as an annual one, but it seemed to make things easier for the accountant, so
okay.
I
Yep.
acquiesced.
Well, there is the one difference in that if it's done in a special, the money can be spent now. Where if it's done all in an annual, it can't be spent until the next fiscal year.
Right.
I like that explanation. That's the best one I've heard yet.
Okay,
It apparently made it easy for the accountant, so I said, fine. I checked with town clerk, I checked with legal, and no real reasons to separate them, but if I can make the accountant happy, then it's a good one.
There he is.
What is this, May 3rd? Is that a Saturday?
no, the Tuesday evening.
So my birthday's the next day, so.
What time on
You'll be
Tuesday
tired.
evening?
Yeah, right.
Excuse me, is this going to be in the town hall?
Wait,
Yes, in the
John?
Great Hall, the Royal Hall, 7 p.m.
Thank you. Will not be able to make it at this time. I can follow you all
Okay.
or thank you very much.
more room at the table. Yeah, more room at the table.
Elections
for us.
are on the 25th, next week.
Yep.
That's next week. Is that next week?
That's next-
Oh,
Yeah.
Next,
We are filing
no,
the
week
No, it's
after.
gotta be the week after.
24th is Sunday.
24th is the Sunday, the 25th is
today's
the
the
annual
12th, so-
annual elections, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m.
There will be, I think, contested election for the Board of Selectmen, and there will be the override question, as well as other
Yep.
positions that may not be contested.
Yep,
It may not be filled.
and lots of open, yeah, lots of blanks on there. Okay. So I just getting basics in line for, you'd say Thursday at this point. So we have one for the warrant articles. And how many on the annual?
The annual is currently at, and we've decreased by one. I've got 24 articles.
Okay,
But we only comment on the.
and Article 5
recommend
is the,
On the financial.
It
right,
doesn't affect
Yep.
us. We don't have.
right, yep. Yep, understood. So just to have them, if any of them are there, we can put, I can add to the drop down. It's not financial, no action. Okay. Okay.
May even be out of town that day.
Hmm,
I'm lucky.
I'm gonna take my birthday off in case it does go.
that may depends on your articles. Okay, if we're good, I guess we'll get started next time on, which is Thursday night, 6 o'clock.
Thursday night, 1800, gotcha.
I will have a fresh version of the warrant for you by then. I mean,
Okay, yep,
if there's one article coming out, that's some chickens bylaw.
Yeah.
The snow number's probably gonna be right.
The
snow number.
will most likely be right.
it'll be firmer.
Hopefully, exactly.
I was in school and it snowed May 7th.
Oh, I know, I know.
I mean, And the warrant article will stay the same because it's going to be a certain
It's just
amount of
amount.
money or any other sum.
Oh, okay,
And
yeah,
then the motion will be specific night of the meeting.
okay.
So, the articles that we're taking on the facilities, is that going to be in the warrant at all? You're going to see that?
Yes,
Yeah.
I believe we're going to leave all the items in the capital request,
But move to no action.
potentially move no action
On the,
based on where the funding is and what the decision is on free cash. If for some reason something changes, then they're already in the warrant and they can continue.
Right.
I think it gives the latitude of going both ways in town meeting. It puts the public on knowledge that there are things that are being asked for that we're not doing,
Yeah.
Right.
and lets them know chances are they're going to come back next year.
Mhm.
So I think leaving them in is probably good.
Yeah, I mean, that's practice before of taking no
I
action
mean,
on it.
that decision is ultimately the selectmen's decision tomorrow night, but that's where I think the leading is leave them in and
Mhm.
the motion will be no action if appropriate.
Yeah.
Or move it.
Is that
Sorry, I'm just,
warrant going to be available on PDF or Word by the Thursday meeting?
Is what going to be available?
The
the
warrant.
warrant
The
articles.
the warrant.
We can review.
Yes.
So we can-
Yeah, Yep.
Please see to it
Yep,
it's
so
detailed
we'll-
here. As either a PDF or a Word. There's a number of Excels that have been coming in this meeting and the last that I haven't been able to open. Comes in with some security warning on my Excel.
okay. That's
Either Word or Word Perfect I can handle. I mean, or
Yep.
PDF.
PDF.
Thank you. That's excellent.
Yep. Okay.
I'm really hoping to have the warrant finished, the selectmen can sign it, and then tomorrow night, at that point, it's final.
Yeah.
I mean, we can tweak the warrant articles with motions, but that should be it.
Yeah.
Okay, we got our set up for tomorrow night
We-
then.
What Thursday?
Thursday.
Thursday.
Yeah. Yep.
Too late night.
Yeah, in a month. Yeah.
I know, huh?
Okay. Just quick check. So we know our meetings are Thursday, FinCom meeting Thursday at 6:00, and then the next following on the 19th, we will have a meeting same 4:00 on Tuesday. And then on the 20th, we have the information meeting in the Great Hall. And again, that's a joint board between FinCom and Selectmen. And so we have that on the 20th in the Great Hall, and a Zoom
And you're
meeting.
planning some sort of a preamble to that meeting?
Yeah, I think really we're going to push these documents and get that out as the preamble, use it, and and use the time and the feedback that may come out of that meeting if it causes additional questions or anything. Use that time to get anything straightened out before we create the document for town meeting.
A dry run, good.
That's our hopes at this point. A lot of typing between now and then. Okay. Everybody good and understand the next meetings? We're good with that? Okay.
Actually, no, it came in blocky.
Yep.
Can you just email the meetings, the days and the times, or the date and the times?
Yep, I will
So I
give you
can-
the full, yep,
I have you down for this Thursday to meet on here on this
Yep.
Thursday, 6 p.m. But after that, I got lost.
okay. I'll get the full meeting schedule out, and I can just get it to everybody. That's just a double check, and that everybody has hard copy of the time in a mail with it. Okay,
Yes.
that's my action. Then I will entertain a motion to adjourn at 5:28.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Yeah. I'll second that.
Okay, so we had
I'll have a beer with that.
motion and a second and roll call vote.
Carol Mazikas, yes?
Mark Hussey, yes?
Henry Wood, yes.
Sam Grant, yes.
Don Hayes, yes. Unanimous, and we stand adjourned.